Our next speaker, Sandy Shaff, is an award-winning speaker, having recently finished in the top 3 in the area contest. I have it on good authority that she is also looking forward to competing in our upcoming contest. Speaking today on the topic of Get Back to Your Roots, please join me in welcoming Sandy Shaff.
Thank you, Toastmasters. How many of you can trace your roots to a country other than the United States? And how many of you have relatives still living in the country of origin? Great! Well, I want to talk to you today about getting back in touch with your ancestral roots. My husband and I, Rick, had an opportunity this summer, just last month actually, to visit his mom's ancestral roots in Italy. Rick is third generation Nevadan, but his great grandmother came over here from Italy about 100 years ago. And so she is actually one of 8 children, and only 2 of the siblings came over here and settled in Nevada. The rest are still in Italy, in that Piedmont area. And Rick and I had been back to Italy twice as a tourist, but this time we went as travelers. And you may be wondering what the difference is. Well, for us, tourist is when you go to a place and just see things, the highlights of the trip. But as a traveler, you spend a bit more time there immersing yourself in the people, the culture, the foods, just what the area and the country has to offer. And this by far was one of the most enjoyable experiences we ever had. The thing that we learned the most was some of the barriers that you may see in going to explore another region could be language, because most of the time when you go as a tourist, you're going to major cities, and most of the people that you encounter speak English, or they can communicate in your same language. But when you go visit the relatives that we visited, we had one cousin who had taken English in high school. And so his English was very passable, but it was very difficult to understand anyone else. So we knew that going in, so some of the hints to get you through the whole entire process and make the whole experience more enjoyable, I've come up with about 3 tips. One for the language barrier, and one for the cultural barriers, and the other one for traveling. First one would be for language barrier. There are some really good apps. This is really small. You can fit it in your purse or carry-on your smartphone. You can download Duolingo. I thought we had known about this trip months ago, and so I thought, I could, next few months, practice a little Italian. But no, as we're on the plane, I'm downloading Duolingo onto my phone, trying to get a crash course in Italian. And it's funny because you think, I've taken languages before, and you think, the alphabet can't be that hard. A, B, C, D is the same in most languages, but in Italian, like in Spanish or French, there's a different way of pronouncing things, like a, b, c, f, e, j, gl. So when you look at words, you can't really pronounce them the way someone would do in English, or you're going to get a very funny look. But this Duolingo, you can actually learn the basics just to get you by, and not only that, it lets you repeat words like woman, la donna, and you can hear it yourself or repeat it on a real slow, like a turtle speed, so you can hear what they're really articulating, which was really good for me because, when people speak fast in other languages, it's hard to capture what they are saying. Arrivederci, and you're like, okay, I think you said goodbye, but I'm not quite sure, but see. So see really works very well in Spanish, in English, and in Italian. So there's some key words that you could learn. And not only that, there's a wonderful app called Google Translate. So here we are sitting at the table. We came at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was this wonderful table spread out for us for antipasta with these wonderful homemade sausages and fruits and vegetables from the garden. It was really glorious, but that lunch lasted until about 5, and then we had like an hour rest before dinner. So it was a cultural thing too. They dine at a different hour and they eat forever. So you have to kind of get used to that and go with the flow. So that was really an experience as well. And also, a lot of the foods that we ate brought back memories for my mother-in-law. So we traveled with my mother-in-law, my husband's uncle, and his brother and family. And we were introduced to some of the family members that were close by, and every day there was a new face. And they were so welcoming, but you get to the point where you just want to communicate, but you just don't know that vocabulary. Google Translate. I'm telling you, it is like the best thing to get you through those tough moments. Like, how do you say, what do you do for work? You know, you can actually, if you keep it simple, you can communicate. Or what do you grow on your farm? And they may not know how to say it in English, but you can go from Italian to English. So they can type it in Italian and you can read it in English. And it's so cool. But you gotta keep it simple. To give you an example, if you make it too difficult, that whole verb conjugation kind of gets in the way. I bought a birthday card for our nephew while we were there. And when I actually took the Italian and translated into English, it turned out, for the wishes of birthday, then we so do smile, and I hope of bringing you with pay and all of your Tanzini wishes. So to us, it's like we think it's wishing us happy birthday, but we're not really sure. So if we make it too complicated and add too many verbs or adjectives, then they're gonna be looking at us like this too. So that Google Translate and Duolingo and maybe a small little dictionary, because you have to travel light too. And the other thing was maps. When you go into visiting the family, you could be finding yourself on country roads, and thank goodness there are things like Google Maps, because you're not going to be able to see signs for streets on every corner. In fact, you could not even see a sign because everybody knows where Castellafera is, right? No, not really. So good thing there's Google Maps that'll get you at least close in the proximity. So we eventually found where we needed to go. Another thing was another thing that was really interesting was, like I said before, I think I mentioned the alphabet. So the alphabet could be something that you have to have grace when they are speaking as well. One of the cousin that knew how to speak English, he actually said, he kept referring to newts, and we're thinking, newts? There's nothing on the table that resembles newts that we can eat. But he actually meant nuts. But in Italian, the letter U is pronounced oo. And so we're all looking at him, so finally Rick said, newts and boots, nuts. And he's pointing to his nuts. So when it comes to cultural things, I highly encourage you to have a sense of humor as well. So one of the things that we learned overall was that no matter how many generations and continents and oceans can separate you, there's things that you'll always find in common with other family members. And with Rick's family, it was faith, family, and food. And then there's that family resemblance. Rick's nose. I go, I definitely know where that came from now. So the experience was wonderful, and it really made me want to explore my Chinese roots. So maybe a trip to Hong Kong to visit my mom's relatives is in the cards for us. Thank you.